Once you've got all your camera angles synced up into a multicam group clip, you're ready to start editing. So let's take a look at how to get started. I'm going to go into my 8.2 keyword collection, and there I have my multicam group clip. I've also favorited a few sections here that I'm going to edit in. Right here in the middle, it's just me asking questions, as you can hear here. All right, thank you. So we have the ability to adapt. So we won't include that, but we will include these two sections right here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is edit the multicam group clip into a new sequence. And I have a blank sequence right here, so I'll load that. And I'll just select this first favorited section, and I'll press E to append that into the timeline. And then let's grab this one as well, and I'll press E. So as you can see, it looks like there's only one clip in here, but we know better. This is really the group clip that contains both camera angles. If I double click, you can see them both inside. But we're going to cut back out at this level. Now, I also have both of my angles showing. If you're just jumping in, I want to remind you that it's under the View menu, and here I can hide the angles and they'll go away, but we want to show the angles. Now, the first thing that I want to set up is what I'm actually cutting. The first option cuts both video and audio together. So if each of these cameras had a superior audio source, then I could use that. The second option is video-only cutting. So I have a clean audio foundation underneath, and I'm just switching the video. And then this option is audio-only switching or audio-only cutting. So I'm going to go back to the beginning of my project here, and I want to make sure to set the correct audio source. So we want to keep it on our two-shot. That's the audio that we want to use. If my superior audio was on this camera angle instead, I could switch it over to there. And you can see that the little icon jumps over to that angle. But we want to keep it over here. And I want to choose video only switching from here on out. So every edit I make is going to switch just the video, but it's going to use this clip's audio. Now, right now, I'm looking at 2 camera angles in a 4-up display. I can change that here in settings. Notice that I can have 2, 4, 9, or 16 angles, and I'm going to choose 2 angles. So basically, we're going to be editing using a cut and switch technique. As you can see, my cursor is actually a blade, so every time I select another angle, I'm simultaneously cutting and switching to that angle. So here's how I recommend that you do this. You want to take your first pass on instinct. You can act like this is a live show and pretend that you're doing live switching. Going through an instinctual first pass is a nice approach, and then you can go back and refine it further afterwards. So let's give it a go. Again, this is just an interview, so there's not going to be much in the way of exciting changes between these shots, but we can look for those subtle moments where we can cut back and forth between our two-shot and our close-up. So I'll go ahead and I'll play my sequence, and I'm going to click on the desired camera angle so you can see what I'm doing. You can also use your number keys, so this would be 1, 2, and so on if I had more angles. But I'll go ahead and play, and we'll switch back and forth.
You hear it so many times these days about how companies are looking for team players. And sometimes I think that can actually hurt the veterans, that they're so used to being selfless and not selfish. They're used to sacrificing everything for the good of the squad, the platoon, the company, the battalion, the regiment. It's all about us. It's not about me. And so during the interview process, guess what? That's hard. Because now all of a sudden that veteran has to sit there and talk about himself or herself and almost brag, and they're not used to doing that. But anyway, I digress. But it's really about working as a team, being selfless, and understanding that the good of the company and that the overall mission comes first before self.
I think now that I'm in this role where I get to actually hire individuals, okay, veteran, non-veterans, I think as a hiring manager, the first obstacle we have to get through is to make sure that person actually shows up to work and shows up on time. That's one thing I never have to worry about a veteran. I know they're going to be on time. Actually, they're probably going to be 15 minutes prior there. They're going to be early. But that's the first, the first part of the challenge, okay, is making sure that that individual actually shows up, okay? The next part is that they need to have the will or the drive to succeed, okay? And I think that's with veterans, okay? And it goes back again to what I said before, is they're so used to trying to do their best to impress, the employer, the organization, wherever that may be. where I know they're always going to give it 110%.
You hear it so many times.
So I think that went pretty well. I was able to pick up just those subtle changes where it made sense to switch to the other camera angle. Now there's definitely going to be some opportunity to tweak this, which we'll look at in the next movie. But I want to take a look at exactly what we see in the timeline. If I zoom in here, we have little dashed lines in between each of these shots. Right now, it's not completely clear about how my video and audio are patched, but if I come into this menu right here and check angles, then that information is right here within each of my clips. So you can see that this one, both video and audio, come from this camera angle right here, which again is A. And then here it's patched where V, video, comes from this angle, which is our B shot, and A, audio, comes from this angle, which is our A shot. So each of these clips gives me that patching information. So hopefully you can see that editing your sequence based on an instinctual first pass is a pretty fast and efficient way to work. However, you're never going to get it totally perfect the first time. So fortunately, there are many ways to refine the edit, as we'll learn in the next movie.